International Affairs Analyst Ambrose Igboke back now as we turn our attention back to the crisis in Sudan and the growing list of foreign countries evacuating their diplomats and nationals. Good to have you join us, Ambrose Igboke. Ambrose Igboke, I hope we haven't lost connection with you again. If you have, please say something.
Yeah, I'm here. There have been glitches, but I'm here now.
All right. Great to have you join us. Now let's talk about the efforts Nigeria is making to evacuate and own nationals who are stuck in Sudan. We understand that evacuation is going to happen tomorrow morning. What's your thought on the process and how government has responded?
Well, many countries that are very serious have already evacuated their people, but we are still planning. Even when we have emergencies here in Nigeria, we can hardly mobilize to stem the tide. We are talking of international emergencies. So it's typical of what happens in Nigeria. I'm very disappointed that at the slow pace. By now, we should be talking about Nigeria's back home, just like other serious countries have done, flown their people out. We remember the flood that happened last year that claimed a large swath of Nigeria, that the federal government did nothing. National emergencies did nothing. State emergencies have nothing to offer. And flood overran many states in Nigeria, destroying farmlands and destroying buildings and many other infrastructure in the wake of it. And basically, there were no intervention whatsoever. Till today, there were no compensation. There was nothing done, basically. We just watched on helplessly. In Ukraine, too, when the war broke out, we saw a lot of Nigerian students stranded. Many of them were left in the cold, in winter, and there was nothing anybody did. So that goes to show that we don't have a grasp of our own problem entirely. So having an international intervention when Nigerians are in crisis. I don't know how authentic it is that Air Peace is offering to evacuate, and some other people are trying to do. I also heard that we're trying to see whether there will be alternative for some people from Nigerians in Sudan to go through Egypt and see whether Egypt can open its borders to allow Nigerians to go over there. But as I said earlier, countries that are very serious with the welfare of their citizens have already, went in there and flown them out. In the last 48 hours, we saw a lot of evacuation. Where we are in Nigeria, I was talking about planning.
But Mr. Igboke, if I may just quickly come in, I know that you have highlighted the flood issue and how government responded to sort of give an example of our emergency response capabilities. But I also wanted to ask you, because you also talked about the response to Nigerians in Ukraine. It seems to be easier for other countries, foreign countries as it were, to evacuate their citizens from crisis, countries in crisis, but it's always a little more difficult if for Nigeria or for Africa. Other foreign countries have evacuated their nationals from Sudan. Is it a problem with how other countries respond to Africa, or is it just Nigeria that needs to improve of its emergency response? Mr. Igboke, can you hear me?
It is a basic rule. What you cannot do locally, you cannot replicate internationally. So if you don't have effective emergency response in your country, you cannot have emergency effective response when your citizens in other countries run into trouble. And that is the case with Nigeria. Even locally, when you have fire emergencies, fire service will come, the water will get finished because we don't have water drought where they can take water from and other places. There is nothing to do. They will see people going back to their offices to fetch water. And so we will see a lot when there are accidents on the road. We say emergencies, apart from maybe Lagos and one or few other states that have at least some semblance of emergency response. Other states are basically not existing in terms of emergency. So this is within our own country where the citizens live, where we have all the paraphernalia and apparatus to intervene when emergencies happen. Then we are talking about where we don't even have. Probably if you go to Khartoum, the Nigerian embassy in Khartoum, it will be a sorry sight. Some of them don't even have access. Nigerians don't have access to our foreign embassies and commission. Maybe they don't even know the statistics of Nigerians that are in Sudan. And so we don't do headcount. They don't have regular meetings. Maybe they don't even know mix of the Nigerians. So a lot of people can even come and claim to be Nigerians. And then Nigerians, so we don't have headcounts. So it is always like that because we are not always prepared as a country. And that is what is, crystallizing in Sudan. But we pray that the few that can get out will be able to get out. This one they're talking about, boss, it's a very dangerous situation because when you move by land, these are intensified areas of fighting where there are serious fighting going on. Are you going to obtain a ceasefire? Which corridor are you going to open? Are you talking to the maybe Nigerian ambassador to Egypt, Nigerian ambassador to the other countries that are bordering Sudan, so that they can talk to the government of those countries to see whether we can have like a corridor where our trapped brothers and sisters are, so that they can pass through. That will be the only way because intense fighting is going on. The best way would have been to fly them.
Hopefully, Mr. Igboke, that those conversations. Hopefully, those conversations have taken place because the government is quite certain that Nigerians will be evacuated tomorrow morning. But I also wanted to ask you more broadly on the crisis there. The implication that all of these evacuations, the list of growing foreign countries and African countries evacuating their citizens, the implication of that on the crisis or on the war, if it's likely to now intensify.
Well, if the war was not intensifying, foreign nationals will not move out their citizens. So what it goes to show already is that the war has intensified. The war is escalating. Cities and other countries don't want to risk their citizens being killed in that war. And that is what it means. There's another level to it. After the evacuation of foreign nationals, then it will now remain the Sudanese. What will now happen is that when the refugee crisis in Africa, because Sudan is a large country and the population is big. So the devastating effect could even trickle down even to West African sub-region. So it's going to be a major crisis unless something is drastically done to stem the tide of this war before it becomes a refugee crisis in Africa.
We have our eyes on that evacuation tomorrow morning, as the government has stated. And we also are watching the developments in Sudan. Thank you for your time, as always. International Affairs Analyst Ambrose Igboke.